Good evening, it's your boy Crew, and I'm back with another video. This is my second take, by the way. I did a long, about 30 minutes recording, and I forgot to turn the mic, to record on the mic. So here we go. 2 days ago, I released a video about the 4 things I hate about the Sony FX3. I'll link the video somewhere on the screen. However, it'll be bad of me not to tell you the amazing things that make this camera my favorite camera of all time. Let's run the intro.
Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within. So go ahead and just spin. It's been for me.
Right. First of all, there was one thing that when I saw the advert for this camera that got me straight away, and it's the tally lights. The reason why the tally lights meant a lot to me was I was coming from the Canon 5D Mark IV and the Sony A7 III, and half of the time I'll think I've been recording, I'll talk, and then get to the record, to the camera, to turn the camera off or to stop the recording, and I find out, I've not been recording. A bit like what happened earlier. So the fact that you've got tally lights means that you can see that red line telling you that you're recording. There's a square around the monitor, there's a red light in front of the camera, there's one on top, and there's one on the back as well. So it tells you every time you're recording, and that red line, I think, is just so sexy on this camera. It makes this camera look really good. I'm a big fan of that. So the tally lights for me is number one. The number two is the fact that this camera has a dual base ISO. So you have 800 and then 12,800, meaning you can record in normal lighting at 800, and if you're in the dark, you can record at 12,800. You don't need a fast lens, you don't need a 1.2 or 1.4, 1.8 lens. You can record on a 5.6, you can run at 4, you can record at 8, whatever. That used to be a problem for me, because when I started, I used to do night clubs and events and that. And in the dark, you struggle to get good images because it's dark. However, with this, you've got a dual base ISO. You can whack the 12,800 ISO on, and things look good. No noise, nothing, just good footage. So yeah, dual base ISO for me is a game changer. The third thing about this camera is the body design. I think the design of the button of the camera is very, very, very good. And makes it durable as well, and it makes it highly expandable. So you can rig it up, you can decide not to rig it, you can attach things to the screws on the body of the camera, and it just gives you options. Lately, I've not used the camera with any rigs at all. I've just used it the way it is, just a camera and a lens and a DJI mic. But prior to now, I used to have a massive rig as well. So the good thing about the camera is you can rig it up, you can you can break it down. Something that you can't do with the FX6 and the FX9. They are the way they are. You got to use it the way it is. For me, I can easily take this camera out by itself on a lens, and nobody will know I've got anything on my hand. They just think it's got like a dad cam or something like that. So yeah, the body design is good, and it's reliable as well. This is one camera that I found that is so reliable. Like, you can always count on it. Just get your battery and you're good. The fourth thing is the button layout. Man, this camera was well thought, like design, like looking at it, it's just beautiful. You got all this nice button layouts and all the red, contrasting colors. It's just beautiful. The button layout is good, and the buttons are highly customizable, so you can have whatever you want. You can map whatever you want, how you want it. The camera works for me the way I like to shoot, and if you have a different style, the camera will you can set up the camera as well to do things how you want to do it, and that is one thing that sets this camera apart from the other cameras, because with one button I can change my ISO and I can change my white balance, things like that. Like, you know, you can customize those buttons however you want to do them. Next thing is the internal fan. When I first started, I used to record long form videos like podcasts and that, and because you're recording 4K, you find that the camera overheats a lot and sometimes it shuts down. But with this, not a problem. You can record up to 60 frames per second at 4K without the camera even complaining about the heat, because once it starts getting tough for the camera, the fan kicks in and you'll be fine. I've never had an issue where the camera shuts down or something happens with heat. The heat dissipation on this camera is top notch, probably one of the best I've seen. Another thing I like a lot is firmware updates. When I first got the camera, there was no Cine EI, there was no support for LUTs, there was no DCI 4K, shutter angle all just got added to the camera. Monitor control came later on. The thing with the FX3 and Sony is it's probably the most updated or upgraded camera Sony have released. I don't think the A1 had that many updates like this. What the FX3 has done or is broken all those barriers. You know, a lot of us were complaining about the A7 IV having all this new focus mapping and all these new features like force color and that. Now with the monitor control app, Sony have added support for the FX3 and a few other cameras, so now there's not a lot to complain about really. The FX3 again with this updates has become more than, because before people used to say the FX3 is the same as the A7S3, but now there's a clear difference. The A7S3 is marketed to ivory shooters and the FX3 is predominantly marketed to filmmakers and enthusiasts and people that want to work more with video. So yeah, the firmware updates is a top feature. I mentioned the motor control app again, game changer. Now I've got force color, I've got focus mapping, I've got all these features that were added to the new cameras available to me now. I must say, since motor control app became a thing, I've not used my Ninja V much, which is quite a shame because spent a lot of money on it. I love the Ninja V is one of those revolutionary accessory for whatever camera you have. You know, it used to help me back in the day because I used to like I said, I had the A7 III to break that barrier of 30 minutes recording limit. The Ninja V was my solution at the time, but since the monitor control app came into the picture, I barely ever use the Ninja V. You know, that tells you how well the monitor control app works and the amount of good work that Sony have managed to pack into this app and the camera that supports it. Another thing that was a major that made the decision to go with the FX3 easy is the top handle. The top handle is not just a top handle, something to carry the camera around with. It's got two XLR inputs and a 35mm input, so you can get professional quality audio via the top handle. So I can line in anything, so I can have multiple channels going in. There was a time I used to record like 3 different channels so that I'll try this sound. If that one's not good, I can use the other one, you know, things like that. That's what you can get with the FX3. So apart from the top handle being a good point of contact to hold the camera, to carry the camera, it gives you options for audio. And there's controls for the audio input as well. You can set your gain, you can add low cards, you can add a few effects here and there, and you can monitor things from there, which again is amazing. And I mentioned Cine EI, I mentioned DCI 4K, shutter angle, and all these new features on the FX3. These are the things you get with the FX3. It's unfortunate. I remember my first video, I'll link it here, when I talked about the decision to go with the FX3 over the A7S III. Even though all these things was not a thing at the time, we didn't have half of these features, I said it that the firmware updates were going to make this camera one of the best cameras, if not the best. And here we are 3 years later. Let's not forget that you can also output up to 16-bit RAW via external recorders. That's mad, isn't it? And that tells you that cameras are tools. Pick the tool you need and use it how you want to use it. There's no point going to get like REs and that when you want something like you can strip down, and you get my drift. People overcomplicate things. The tool you have should be used to its strengths. Personally, for me, all I've ever needed in a camera is here on the FX3, and I'm glad I got it. If you've not seen the video that I released last week, go check it out on my channel. I'll link it on here as well. They're the 4 things I hate about the FX3. Other than those 4 things, I don't think there's anything else that frustrates me about this camera. This camera, I will give it a strong 9.2 out of 10. That tells you that the camera, like I said, it's probably the best thing I've seen in ages. So yeah, that's the video today. If you like the video, please share, like, comment, and share with other creators that might find value in this. And thank you again, and I'll see you on the next one. It's your boy Crow.